Hey guys, my name is Emily. Welcome to our Beautiful Messy Lives podcast. So, for those of you who have paid attention to me before, I've tried to start this podcast multiple times over the past few years. And so I have a few episodes out here and there, but to be honest, fear of disappointment or lack of confidence that I have something to add to our really loud world has held me back. So one of my goals as we finish out this year into 2025 is to be more consistent and to show up. And so I'm doing this both on a podcast, but also a YouTube video. So if you're watching on YouTube, welcome. I'm glad you're here. I really want to create a space where we can share stories and talk about what it means to live a life that is both beautiful and messy. Because being human is complicated. And if you're paying attention to the world, we're living in a really divisive and messy time right now. And a lot of people are really struggling to feel heard, valued, seen, and respected. I think a lot of us feel frustrated and overwhelmed. And again, part of the reason why I've started and stopped this podcast is there's so much noise out there. Everybody has something to say. And while I think that that is really amazing, and while I'm obviously adding my voice to the noise, I think it can also be extremely overwhelming and hard to find your way through it. And so I hope I can create a space where you feel welcomed and you feel like you can tune in and learn something or just hear an interesting story or maybe think about something a little bit differently. But I really want to make this as engaging and conversational as possible. So I am going to try to bring on some guests at various points and talk to them about their journeys through life and what it means to grow through hard things, lessons that they've learned, things that they love to do and what they're passionate about, and try to share more stories of just average people. A lot of things in podcasts I listen to are people with really, special specialties or have a whole brand that they're trying to build. And while on the one hand, I think that's really incredible and I really enjoy listening to those podcasts, on the other hand, I'd like to create a space where we just normalize having authentic conversation that's not so scripted and that can be messy and imperfect, and that we're okay with that. Because I don't think we're very good at that anymore. In a world of such political division, we tend to put other people in other categories. We say us versus them, or they're this and we're that. And we look at the differences between us rather than at what we have in common. And so I really hope to create a space where we can share what we have in common and find the thread that I think is moving through all of us as being humans. I took a class in college that was all about how man, woman, people make meaning in life, because we're all trying to figure out what it is that we're doing on this place called Earth. Nobody really knows. And I went to seminary to study and try to understand Christianity better, because that's my background. And living in Dallas, I'm in the Bible Belt. And so I really wanted to understand how people formulate their beliefs and how that impacts society. And while I will bring in spiritual and faith conversations, it's definitely not a Christian podcast in particular. I just think it's really fascinating how we all are looking for our own sense of purpose and what drives us in life. And so I really want this space to be where we can talk about hard things and talk about the struggles, because the world is very, very complicated. I also have 3 stepkids and a little one on the way. And so I'm going to also weave in parenting in this world of hyper technology, hyper information overload, and just how the heck are we supposed to figure out what to do, right? And we want to find the right answers. We want to do everything the right way. And I don't think there is a right or wrong on most things that we do, as long as you're leading from a place of doing your best and trying to love the people around you as best you can. I don't think you can mess up, and if you do, I think you can always be redeemed or find a way forward. Because let's face it, it's just hard, and everybody and their mother has an opinion about what is right and wrong and the best and worst ways to do things. And depending on your background and your upbringing, those things might look different. And again, we shouldn't have to shy away from who we are and what our stories are. But I think we also have to be open to listening to other people and saying, okay, you might disagree, or you might have a different take on this, or you might have gone through something that I don't understand. Please explain it to me. And so those are the goals that I have for this space. I also am going to talk about mental health and how we can really make sure to prioritize taking care of ourselves and our loved ones. I'm heavily involved with a nonprofit here in Dallas called Grant Halliburton Foundation. That's all about suicide awareness and prevention in teens and young adults, as well as children. And I've learned a lot about suicide prevention and the impact of mental health on our communities. And again, it's something that while the stigma has gone away a lot over the last few years, we still don't talk about enough. And a lot of people are suffering in silence or don't realize that they are suffering from something that might be fixable or that they can talk about because they feel like they might be shamed or judged or condemned. And those things happen still, and that is a real fear. But like I said, in this space, I want to make sure that we can normalize those kinds of conversations so that all people can feel seen and valued and heard. Because, again, it's a lie to say that you've never struggled. It's a lie to say that life is easy. It doesn't mean it's not joyful. It doesn't mean you can't have seasons that are full of good things and that life is suffering. I don't believe that either. But I also think we have to be able to honor both the good and the bad. And one of my favorite symbols is the yin and yang symbol, because it represents that idea of balance, of there is both good and beauty and pain and darkness in this world. And so how do we hold both and try to be the best human we can be? What else? We're also going to talk about self-help and empowerment. So we'll talk about confidence and motivation and overcoming challenges. And this next episode I'm going to do, that'll be up at the same time as this one actually, is going to be about the election, and not even politicizing it, but just how do we have conversations across the aisle? How do we engage in a world where it does feel like it's a lot of us versus them or othering? My dad actually apparently is doing a talk today on othering in Florida, where he works and lives, and talking about how we tend to just want to put ourselves in categories for identity's sake, but that can lead to division because somebody else has to be in another category. And while, again, I think it's great and okay for there to be differences, and we want difference, think about a world where we're all the same. How boring would that be? But we need to learn how to honor and respect each other through our differences and be able to converse about them and not just shut down, unfriend on Facebook, or walk away because we're frustrated. We need to learn how to sit in that frustration, sit in the uncomfortable, and listen and learn from each other. Because at the end of the day, we are all human. We're all trying to make a life that feels good and life-giving. We're all trying to protect ourselves and our loved ones. And at the end of the day, we have a lot more in common with our motivations than we would like to realize sometimes. So, just a little bit more about me, and then I'll let you go for the day. But I am in Dallas, and I am a personal coach. So if you're interested in learning more about what that could look like to work with me, you can go to my website at eclark.co, and I can put the link below. But at a minimum, I'd love for you to subscribe to this YouTube channel or to the podcast, wherever it is that you are listening, and follow along on this journey, because we can't do this alone, and I don't want to sit here just talking to myself. I would like to have conversation and create a space where you can feel seen too. So if you ever have thoughts or opinions or questions, I would love for you to reach out and talk to me, because again, I think we live in a world where we've lost the art of thoughtful and mindful communication. And one of my goals in life is to help people both listen to themselves more, tune out the noise, and be able to really understand who they are in the chaos of the world. But then once you're comfortable with who you are and you feel like you're grounded, how do I then re-engage in the world and stay connected even when someone is in disagreement with me, even when it's hard or painful, even when the world makes me want to retreat and hide? How do we stay engaged while honoring our need for space in order to listen to our own thoughts and self as well? So again, yin and yang, it's all about balance. And I really look forward to continuing to have these conversations with you. I hope you have a great day. See you soon.